Oh, and good evening, everybody. And yes, wow, I cannot believe, man, time flies by so fast when you're not having fun. And welcome back to the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn here on the It's a Rap Sports Network, Season 6, Kyle. 6. Unofficially, of course, because we're not quite there yet. But back for 6 years, Kyle. How do you feel about being attached to me for 6 years?
That's 6 years too long, Matt.
I love the honesty right off the shoot, man. All right, Kyle. But we're here tonight. With all pleasantries aside, we got to get to business because we're getting close. We're not quite that close yet, but we're a lot closer than we were the last time we spoke, when that was back in February. Bathed in Super Bowl glory, your Philadelphia Eagles, or our Philadelphia Eagles, I don't know, whatever you want to say, are your defending champs, Super Bowl 59 champions. Kyle, in the months that have preceded Super Bowl 59, the capturing of, how's it been for you? Was it better the first time around? Is it better this time around? Is it different? Give me how you've been able to process the Eagles championship.
Yeah, I don't know if one's better than the other, but it definitely two completely different experiences. 17 was sort of out of nowhere, and all the stories involved with the backups coming in and everything like that. And then this year was just like your homegrown team that failed a couple of years ago and then went back and avenged it just a couple of years later against Mahomes and the Chiefs. And that one was in just dominant fashion. So you have kind of the underdog team, and then you have just like the dominant team. So two completely different experiences, but both like awesome. Yeah,
absolutely awesome. I agree. And Kyle, the thing with being a champion, when you're on top, everyone's going to be gunning for you. There's everybody out there is going to put together the best possible game plan they can to take down the champion. Everyone's going to try to copy the blueprint in the offseason by assembling teams that resemble the champion, because while you've done it, you're there. And the Eagles, when you are the champion, it's hard to sit here and say, well, we're missing this or we're missing that. So the plan heading into the offseason, Kyle, as we have kind of seen with free agency, we'll start there, was not necessarily living for the day, but kind of preparing for tomorrow. We're going to break down some of the players that have kind of gone away, but now that it's kind of done in terms of the free agency period, what do you think of Howie Roseman's plan for the Eagles as trying to launch a dynasty?
So, yeah, you're right. Like, they definitely, I think, had an eye on the future when it came to this offseason and not necessarily prioritizing going back to back, which, it did upset me a little bit that they didn't necessarily go out and make like any of the biggest moves. They kind of went bargain bin shopping. And like you said, did let a lot of guys go. Now, they did let them go get huge contracts, which not entirely sure that they're 100% worth it. I mean, especially if you're the Eagles at this point. But it sounds like they're trying to learn their lesson a little bit from the last time that they won the Super Bowl and how it all kind of just went downhill year after year, 18, 19. And then, we saw what happened in 2020. It was because, they were just sort of adding mercenary players. They weren't really drafting well necessarily. But it looks like they're trying to really focus in on getting this team younger and trying to have this thing go for the long haul, not just be there once, trend downwards, but be there and I guess stay there for a few years. So we'll see how that works out.
By the way, in all the excitement, Kyle, of the show, I forgot to give you the proper introduction. Of course, this is Kyle Quinn. He is a producer on the midday show on 94 WIP on 94.1 on your FM dial. So I apologize for that, everybody. If you didn't know who he was, I'm sure you did. Kyle, the Eagles lost 19 players from last year. That's a lot more than the league average. The league average this season was 14 players that were kind of left by each team. 19 players from the defending Super Bowl champion. And I'm going to put up a little graphic here because I think this sort of sums it all up for me. Here you go. Here's 7 players, all of them contributors big time to the Super Bowl championship, and 6 of them are on the defense. Of course, Becton being the lone offensive player here. Kyle, I'm going to ask it again. When you're out to win a dynasty or establish a dynasty, go back to back, because this city goddamn deserves a dynasty. This city deserves to be the city of champions for your football team. How can Howie Roseman look the Eagle faithful in the eye and say, I'm going to let go of these guys and bring in, of course, unknown what their contributions are going to be, and we're going to get into some of the players, but Class B free agents, the draft, and some players that have been here that have not quite broken through yet. How can he look us in the eye and tell us that his plan is to be a dynasty of a football team?
I see what you're trying to do here, Matt.
Of course you do.
Well, look, I mean, I know everybody complained about what happened to the team after they won the Super Bowl in 2017, and they lost a bunch of guys, right? And what happened? They went downhill year after year after year, and it was a little bit of a different plan, I think, than one they're trying to execute here, which is rely on the guys that they've drafted. They want to rely on their younger players, and instead of paying, Milton Williams $26 million a year, they're going to try and draft and develop his replacement, which if they have faith in the coaching staff, which I guess they should have reason to, especially with how Vic Fangio coached the defense out to be number one, that they're going to try and rely on them again. They're going to rely on their development team and rely on their scouting team. So I know they lost a bunch of guys, and it pissed me off too when they all just kept going one by one, and we didn't really seem to replace them with any big names. But it's that's just kind of what happens in the NFL when you have a bunch of players that win the Super Bowl, they get poached.
Yeah, it is. You're right. I'm not going to sit here and you're absolutely right, Kyle. And some of these players, Kenny Gainwell, I wasn't prepared to give him any kind of major contract to keep him around. I wasn't prepared to give Oren Burks a major contract. I wasn't prepared to give Avonte Maddox. These guys were guys that have kind of come and gone here. We've got what we could out of them, but it's time to move on. But there is a player, Darius Slay and CJ Gardner-Johnson. I think these two are the players that might come back and potentially bite this team on the butt. We talked about the defense and its renaissance, that something happened between weeks 5 and the Super Bowl week that created this juggernaut defense. And I maintain that's the reason why we won the Super Bowl, is because of what that defense was able to do down the stretch. The turnover machine it was historically, and that back end specifically with the young players, Quinn Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, mixed in with Darius Slay and CJ, DJ, PJ, KJ, and all those guys. Really, they had the winning formula. But now we're going to take Slay and Gardner-Johnson out, and we're going to expect Quinn Mitchell and Cooper DeJean to step up into a different role in 2025. Kyle, they had great rookie seasons. Are they ready to be the focal point of the defensive secondary, in your opinion?
Yeah, Quinn Mitchell was their number one corner last season, even with Slay on the field. I think the difference you're going to see is that they're going to miss Slay and Isaiah Rodgers. So Cooper DeJean's either going to have to stay in the slot, and they're going to either rely on Keely Ringo on the outside, or they're going to move DeJean to the outside. So that's definitely going to be something interesting, I think, to watch when it comes to this defense next year. But if you want to think about every level of the defense, they still have Jalen Carter, who's their best, maybe overall defensive player, but definitely their best player on that defensive line and was last year. They still have Zach Bond, who was their best player in the middle part of the field. And they still have Quinn Mitchell, who's the best part of the back part of the field. So they have an elite player at every level of the position on defense. Now it's just sort of a matter of filling in the edges with the other guys, and the safety and the spot where Slay's missing now is definitely going to be the two biggest ones.
And what about the exercising the 5th-year option on Jordan Davis? I think it was a no-brainer. I don't know how much of an option the Eagles really had there. Has he worked out up to this point as a first-round draft pick? Probably not. But there's really a no-brainer here. With all the loss the defense suffered in this offseason, I don't think the Eagles could have gone into this season with Davis being kind of a dead man walking.
Yeah, and even if he hasn't necessarily lived up to his first-round pick status, say he does have a breakout year next season, you have him on a totally cheap number compared to every other defensive lineman in the NFL. So
you mentioned Zach Bond, and I'm going to go there as well. The other side of the linebackers, Nakobe Dean, that injury is probably going to not keep him out till October. We drafted Jod Campbell. That's potentially going to keep his shoulder problem might be a problem through the first month of the year. We're potentially going into the season with a starting linebacker core of Zach Bond and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. I fear, and this is going to be a common theme, Kyle, so you might as well get used to it. It's going to be a common theme all season for me. Is Zach Bond ready to take on a bigger role? Because now defenses are going to be looking at him or offenses are going to be looking at him specifically. Is Zach Bond, who came out of nowhere? We toured around the NFL with the Saints for a while, but came out of nowhere. Do you think Zach Bond's ready to become a focal point of an offensive attack?
He was definitely, once Nakobe Dean went down late in the season, he ended up taking over as the green dot guy on the defense. So clearly Fangio has the sort of trust in him that he can turn into that leader on the back end of the defense. So, look, we'll see. The Eagles paid him like he is. So, he absolutely has to live up to that contract now that he just got it. But I think if you just had to ask me if I have faith that he can do it or not, I would say that I have faith that he can.
Barbara checks in, says they said that Laurie is frantically calling around the league because he's afraid of the push play vote. That's not over. I thought that's already been done with. I thought we were pushing forward with that. That was over with. We're moving on.
No, they're going to vote on it tomorrow or the next day.
Are you serious? This is a real thing? They're actually trying to get rid of. Oh wow, man. Man.
They changed the language of the thing so that now you can't push a runner at all. So those scrums in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
And then guys push the runner down the field like in a pile. They're I mean, if this gets banned, they're going to outlaw that too. So.
Oh man, why don't we just stop tackling? Let's just I don't know, robots or whatever. Sirianni gets a new contract, but I don't know how many years or how much money. I don't see I see a multiple year extension. I don't know if the Eagles have released specifics about the contract yet.
Yeah,
I want to get your overview. Either. Yeah, what's your overview? I mean, coming out of a Super Bowl season, again, one of those no-brainer type situations. I'm not saying that I agree with it, but because we still don't really know what he does. And with Nick Sirianni and another new offensive coordinator coming into the fray, do you expect different kind of sideline vibe next year?
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, look, in terms of the contract, you deserve it. It doesn't count against the cap as a coach contract, so you might as well just reward the guy for winning the Super Bowl. I mean, look, you can say what you want about the guy, but he has been to 2 Super Bowls with 2 different sets of coordinators both times. I mean, there's something to be said for that, I think. So in terms of that, he definitely deserved the contract now. I don't know what the terms of the deal were either. I would have to imagine that he's going to be among one of the top 5 paid head coaches in football at this point.
And you don't feel that with Kevin Petula? Is that how you say his name? Please forgive me if I'm wrong. Do you think that, are we going to be seeing a little bit more of the 2023?
So I don't know. I think it's tough to say, right? It's going to depend on how he handled success this offseason. Like we saw how Doug Peterson handled success. He wrote a book and then had the Super Bowl highlights playing at their training camp the next offseason or the next training camp. So
really didn't work out.
I think Nick's been handled a little bit better than that. So I'm hoping that we see a little bit. I mean, I don't know in terms of what it's going to look like on the sideline, but as long as he can sort of right the ship the way that he had last season, I think they're going to be okay.
And I'm not going to focus anymore on the negativity. Let's focus on some of the positive things that the Eagles did this offseason, and that is you're going to extend your bell cow running back. Saquon gets a 2-year deal on top of the remaining contract that he has. I maintain this was not necessary at all. I mean, you already had him on the contract for 2 more years?
I agree. I don't think this was a positive in the offseason. I think it was weird. I think it was stupid, to be honest with you. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, it doesn't make no sense to me. I mean, is it because they want to give him a reward for a great season? I mean, it's not like he was playing on peanuts to begin with. So,
I mean, like you're supposed to pay guys, I think, for what you expect them to be in the future, not what they did in the past.
Right.
I mean, look, Saquon can have a good season next year, but to think that he's going to repeat what he did last season is, I think, pretty foolish, to be honest with you. And I wouldn't have paid him that.
Well, I agree. A.J. Dillon is going to come in and replace Kenny Gainwell. I thought the Eagles missed the mark in the draft. I wanted them to go after Cam Scatterville, the running back out of Arizona State. We didn't do that. I'm not really feeling the running back room right now, Kyle, in May. Maybe it'll change come September, but Saquon, A.J. Dillon, and McCollum, I just don't really feel that. Are you feeling the same way? What's your take on the Eagle new running back room, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think we can rely on A.J. Dillon necessarily at all. Like, we'll see what ends up happening with him, but I hope it doesn't go the way of like Rashad Penny, where everyone's super excited about a guy who's had some good seasons and might be just completely broken down. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with Saquon next season because the history of running backs who come off a season like he has, or with as many touches as he had. It's not usually pretty. So I think they're going to. I don't know. I think they're a little bit light in that room too.
Yeah, we just have to go look back at our own history. Was it Murray coming off of that rushing season when the Eagles brought him here and it didn't really kind of work out? So
Sure didn't. That was terrible.
It was very bad. All right, Kyle. Cam Jurgens gets a 4-year extension. We mentioned also the Jordan Davis extension. Zach Bond gets an extension. Lane Johnson restructures his contract in order to help out the team. those are all no-brainer type moves. Cam Jurgens, I want to talk about that real quick. I thought Cam Jurgens played in his first year as center. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think it was better than Jason Kelce ever performed. I don't know if I'm selling Jason Kelce short or if I'm way too in love with Cam Jurgens, but I was very impressed with what he did year one as a center.
Yeah, I mean, he did fine. I should say more than fine. He did really, really well. I don't know, in terms of comparing it to Jason Kelce. I mean, he did enough, right? Which is really, I guess, all you can ask from the center. I don't know. Kelce usually had like some of the highlight plays that you never seen from a center. Cam Jurgens just kind of puts his head down and works, and he does a lot of the same things Jason Kelce can do. So he had a great season for sure, and to pay him, I think was a really smart move.
I do too. And then, of course, Lane Johnson restructuring his deal. Now going to go through 2027, probably the last restructure and last contract of Lane Johnson's Hall of Fame career as he moves his way through. Barbara posting another one here. How many running backs did the Eagles need with Barkley and Hurts getting most of the carries? And that's not McCullum, it was Shipley. I'm sorry, Will Shipley. You should have corrected me. My bad. Interesting point there, Barbara. But I think Kyle hit it on the head. I don't think the Eagles are going to go into the season thinking that Saquon's going to get 2,500 rushing yards, and I don't think you can. You have to find a different way to move the ball around. You can't go one-headed again because teams are going to be looking for that.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, spelling them with your quarterback is can be a recipe to get your quarterback injured too. So, I like the fact that they addressed the running back. Look, if AJ Dillon turns out to be what he was in Green Bay, then awesome. Like that'll be great, and they can definitely keep Saquon fresh with that. I just wouldn't do it by giving Jalen Hurts an extra 5 carries a game. That'll end up adding up, I think, in a bad way.
And A.J. Dillon, of course, coming back from that neck injury, does not play at all last season. So the last time he played was in 2023. Many Eagle people think that Hurts won the Super Bowl, but I agree it was defense that did it. Barbara, Kyle was on the same lines last year. I don't know if you switched as we moved down. Kyle's a smart guy, Barbara. He sees through the green smoke and mirrors. We can address the quarterback situation. Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl MVP, but that is what it is. Kyle, if you had to rate the top 3 factors the team won the Super Bowl, what would they be for you? What were your top 3 in order, 1 through 3, top reasons why the team won the Super Bowl?
I mean, you mean why they won the game, or just why they ended up in the Super Bowl? Why they won it?
The way the whole season went, and I'm going to give you mine, and maybe to help you out. My number 3 factor is Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Saquon. 1 is defense. Yeah. That's how
Saquon or the defense are interchangeable. I think.
Yeah.
1 or 2, and then the quarterback for sure. Yeah.
Right. So I think that, and Barbara's correct. There's a lot going around, and I know you hear it mostly all day long, and it seems to be 2 sides of the fan base that are divided squarely pro and against Jalen Hurts. Doesn't seem to be too many people in the middle of the road with Jalen, but I maintain that he's not an elite quarterback, but he's not trash either. He's a starter. He's in my opinion above average, a good game manager, but with all the butts that we're talking about on the defense and the changes potentially on the defensive unit, you're moving into this season with potentially not being able to rely on Saquon Barkley. And the way the Eagles changed their complete offensive attack to cater around Saquon Barkley, how much are you looking for Jalen Hurts to kind of step it up and be that elite quarterback, Kyle Quinn?
Yeah, well, I mean, in the biggest way, the Eagles need Jalen Hurts in the passing game to be a lot better than it was last season. I mean, look, like we can all talk about how good Jalen looked in the championship and the Super Bowl, but it definitely has washed away the fact that there was a point in the middle of the season where the wide receiver said the problem with the offense is the passing game and things weren't looking good. And, so I just look, next season, we talked about it with Saquon, not going to be able to rely on him to, I think, get 2,000 yards. The other thing we have to brace for is the defense probably isn't just statistically likely to be as good. When you're number 1, I mean, it's how often is it that you're number 1 again the next year? So, they might not be 30, they might not be 15, but even if they're, from 1 to 10, that's just a little bit more that the quarterback has to make up for. The passing game is going to have to make up for, especially if you don't think Saquon's going to be as good as he was last season.
And Barbara pretty much agrees with defense, Barkley and Hurts. Yeah, I agree. Ranking the parts individually takes away from them working as a team. I disagree. Well, we're not ranking. I don't think we're ranking. I'm just saying if you look at the way the season kind of wrapped up and how it kind of unfolded. If you take away the contributions of the defense, I don't think the team wins the Super Bowl. If they couldn't be the way they were,
yeah,
right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Like at the end of the day, though, I think what they're saying is like they were all good enough last season to win you a Super Bowl. So like really, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Like we can rank Jalen Hurts wherever we want to. The fact is he was good enough, or we know that he's good enough to win you a Super Bowl, and that's really all that matters.
But listen, and again, this is revisiting this history. I'm not going. We can't go back in time. It's done. What's done is done. The Eagles are Super Bowl champs. But going forward, if we got the same Jalen Hurts that we're going to get this year that we had last year, but we have a degraded Saquon Barkley and a degraded defense, Kyle Quinn, is this a Super Bowl champion?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, not if you get the same version as last season, but we've also seen better versions of him in the past. So we're just gonna have to see. I mean, I get what they're saying about the Super Bowl next year, but you're right. Next year's another year, so we're definitely gonna see how that all works itself out.
And loses sight of them actually accomplishing the highest achievement in a season. Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, I don't think that's true, but Yup saying that Hurts won it is absolutely wrong. Barbara's saying it's not true. There you go, Barbara. Way to come to my aid. I'm glad Howie has got his bouncer back. Oh man, why do we got to go there? Yeah, let's talk about Howie. I'll give it to you. All right, because I'm done. I sometimes you just gotta kind of relent and accept and go with the flow. And I'm going to go with the flow. Howie Roseman, obviously, now that he's won his second Super Bowl, we've had this argument over 6 years, and we'll continue to have it. But if Howie was to step out of football today, is he a lock for Canton?
Yeah, for sure. There's no question.
I can't. Okay. I mean, I can't argue that. It's two Super Bowls. I mean, he's had a lot of success.
Two Super Bowls, two different coaches. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to be there that day, but you're right. I mean,
two different QBs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Chiefs stopped Barkley in the Super Bowl and Hurts threw for 17 for 21, 2 touchdowns, an interception, and 1 rush touchdown. They put the offense on Jalen, and he showed up in the Super Bowl. I disagree. The defense flipped the field against the Chiefs and put Jalen Hurts in the offense in that position. But you're right. Jalen sealed the deal. But without the defense, we're seeing a lot of long drives. And we can't sit here and I can't tell you what they would have been like. But Michael, I see what you're saying. But once again, you're degrading what the defense did. The defense completely destroyed Pat Mahomes and the rest of the Kansas City offense. And they were really, it's a shame they couldn't give the MVP to the whole defensive unit.
Yeah. I mean, the defense, look, you could have given it to Josh Sweat, I think, but everybody on the defense stepped up. Cooper DeJean stepped up. Zach Bond stepped up. Everybody played a part on defense. So
They did. All right, Kyle. So next thing I want to bring up, I think we can sit here and kind of agree to disagree with a lot of things, and that's what we usually do. But free agency, and I hate to do this to you, can you assess, and I know it's hard to assess stuff when we haven't even played a single snap, because when we get into the draft here in a second, I'm not going to bog you down with, give me a grade on Jalen Campbell or Jihad Campbell, give me a grade on this guy. I'm not going to do that to you. But if you're looking at addressing needs in free agency, let's look at that first. And you got to give it A through an F. Did Howie do enough, in your opinion, by addressing the needs that he addressed in free agency?
I mean, probably not. I think they created more holes than they filled. So at least just in terms of, if you look at free agency as, what can we do to improve the defense? You probably weren't going to do that, actually, like no matter what you did. I mean, unless you went and traded for Myles Garrett somehow without still losing a lot of the guys on the back end. Like, the defense is just probably going to take a step back just because of how good it was last season. So there was going to be no way they were going to make the defense better. But like I said, they still, they have Quinn Mitchell because they drafted him. They paid Zach Bond. They didn't let him go anywhere. They told you that he was the priority to keep around in terms of defensive free agents next season. So they locked him down, and then they still have Jalen Carter, and they want to be able to pay Jalen Carter next offseason too. And I definitely think that that's a good move. It is the first time, though, I think you saw that the Eagles showed signs of being like strapped on cash. It's not something that we're used to seeing with the Eagles, but they made it pretty clear that they were going to kind of budget this thing out and make sure they can pay their young players and try and get young again through the draft. So, I mean, I guess if you want me to give it a letter grade, I'll say, I don't know, like C-, just because they probably lost more than they they got in here.
Yeah, I'll give you that too. I gave him a C. God damn. It's a sad day when you're more critical than I am. Yeah, I'll give a C. Jalen did exactly what was asked of him from the previous season, less turnovers and use pass protection wisely. Did he do that, or did they make him do that by taking away? Because again, we have real short memories as Eagle fans, but I recall heading out of that Tampa game last year when they were 2-2, and they pretty much went into the bye week and said, "We're done. We're done throwing the ball to the middle of the field. We're done letting Jalen Hurts try to be a prolific passer. So we're going to water down the passing attack, and we're going to give you a heavy dosage of Saquon Barkley." So I think there was a switch because it wasn't working more than anything else, Kyle.
Yeah, that's kind of where my thinking was too. I don't think they came into the season obviously trying to be a passing team. Looked like there were a lot of signs of the turnovers from the year before, because I think Jalen led the league in turnovers that year. So I definitely think they were seeing signs of that and decided to just lean more on Saquon Barkley at that point.
So Jalen Hurts attempted 361 passes last year, and only 48 of them were to the middle of the field. Answer me that question there, Broken Bell Network. Why don't the damn team throw to the middle of the field? You know why? Because they don't trust the quarterback to make those progressions. And that's why I wasn't really that upset about the whole Dallas Goedert thing, because I think tight end is coming down into that position that's not really coveted anymore by this team. I honestly believe that they're going to, not say they don't want Dallas Goedert, but if they can keep him here, they're not going to upgrade. They're going to kind of just do what they have to do with them, because I honestly don't think, Kyle, they care about the middle of the field when it comes to the passing attack.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's better to have him than to not have him and not have a backup plan. Like when they got him, they still had Zach Ertz under contract, and so they didn't move on from Zach Ertz without having a backup plan in Goddard. They don't really have a backup plan on the roster for Goddard, so I think, it's just better to have him than not to.
All right. So you gave him a C-. I'll give him a C. Let's move on now to the draft. Eagles first-round draft pick, Jihad Campbell out of Alabama. The linebacker, second-round pick, safety Andrew Makuba from Texas. Third-round pick, defensive tackle Ty Robinson. Fifth round, Mac McWilliams. Fifth-round, Samuel Moden. Fifth-round, Drew Kindle. Sixth-round, Kyle McCord, quarterback, Syracuse. Sixth-round, Miles Hinton. Sixth-round, Cameron Williams. Sixth-round, Antoine Powell Ryland. Let's talk about Jihad Campbell. Again, I'm not going to ask you to tell me what you think of the guy personally or what you think he's going to do, but building linebacker for the first time since 1979, breaking the historical mold. But let's pump the brakes. I don't know if really Jihad Campbell's not your traditional linebacker. He's more of a hybrid who's probably going to project more as an edge rusher. But how do you like the addressing of that position at that particular time in the draft?
Yeah, I mean, like you pretty much hit that. It's going to be a matter of which role they think that they're going to use him in. So it could either signal that they're not very high on Nakobe Dean coming in the season, and starting the season healthy, or they're not really planning on sticking with him in the future, and that's what they think Jihad Campbell's going to end up sliding in, or they view him as sort of one of the future pieces off the edge, pair him with Nolan Smith for a while or something, and Jalen Carter, and we'll see. I have no idea how that's going to work out with him, but I mean, an interesting pick, especially with the timing of his injury too.
Yep. Not sure what move you want, Jalen. Not sure what more you want out of Jalen, right? He led the team to a hardware. Did I say Jalen Hurts was garbage? I specifically said he's a good quarterback. What I don't prescribe to is the conversation that he's an elite quarterback. He's not. If I had to redraft the Philadelphia Eagles, and everybody out there probably would have the same opinion, and I had every quarterback to my availability that's in the NFL right now, I wouldn't be taking Jalen Hurts as my quarterback. I never said he wasn't the right guy. I just don't think he's elite. And I think we could get better at that position. That's all I'm trying to say. There's such a goddamn, Homer powers activate whenever anybody jumps on Jalen Hurts or criticizes him a little bit. He's not an elite quarterback, which is fine. He won a Super Bowl last year. But if you're expecting Jalen Hurts to take you to the promised land, I think it's going to be a long wait, Kyle Quinn.
I mean, look, I'm with you. I don't know if he's necessarily the best quarterback in the league, but like you said, it's okay. They can win a Super Bowl with him. I know there's It's just a lot of there's definitely a lot of Jalen Hurts sensitivity out there, but it'll be okay.
Yeah, but why, Kyle? Do we
Everyone's
want
gonna
to
be okay.
be that team so bad that we want to be the best quarter? Kyle, would you take Josh Allen over Jalen Hurts?
Of course I would. Yeah. Like, look, at the end of the day, you can compare different positions on every part of the field, right? Is AJ Brown better than Justin Jefferson? Like, no. That's also okay to say. AJ Brown's a great wide receiver, and he's going to have to win the Super Bowl. So it's all good. It's all good, everybody.
We're already getting started, man. It's going to be a fun year. I can't wait because I'll be the voice of reason, Kyle. I will be everyone when they're fighting back and forth. I'll step in the middle and I'll be the great mitigator. And I'll say, come to me, my children, and we shall, sing Kumbaya by the fire. There was one touchdown on defense and a few field goals. The defense shut down Mahomes and was part of the reason. Again, revisionist history. All right, Michael, it's done. It's over with. But I'm telling you, if you look at in my opinion, if you take what the defense did in 2024 and you take that out of the equation or you water it down, whatever, I don't think the Eagles win the Super Bowl. I honestly don't. And you can say the same thing about Saquon Barkley's contributions. But for Jalen Hurts, this is my opinion, if you take his contribution out, I think they still win a Super Bowl. Because honestly, the quarterback wasn't the focal point last year. There was so much else going on around him. And that's okay. They won a Super Bowl. No. It doesn't matter how they got there.
Not okay, apparently, Matt. Not okay.
Man, Jesus Christ. Jeez. All right, Andrew Makuba, the safety out of Texas. Kyle, a little bit of a reach here for me. I was looking for either one of the Penn State secondary guys. I like the safety pick in the second round. Focus on defense completely with this draft, with the one exception of of course, your quarterback and your offensive lineman, out there kind of back end of the draft. But obviously, a focus was made on trying to plus up the defensive side of the ball with some of those losses that the Eagles went through in 2024. Again, assessing by position of need, not by player. Give me a letter grade of A through F on the Eagles draft.
On just the entire draft?
Yeah.
I guess I'll give this one a C plus, just because I think I like some of the players. And they did address some spots that they usually always address, like the defensive line. I think going after Ty Robinson was a fine pick, especially if you think Maro Ojomo takes over for Milton Williams, and then this guy takes over for Maro Ojomo, and we'll see how that goes. The Makuba one, yeah, look, I get where you're coming from. I also kind of find it weird that you would create a hole in your defense with a younger player just to fill it again with somebody. You had, I think, a couple more years left on C.J. Gardner-Johnson's contract, so that one's an interesting one. But at least in terms of who they picked, I like those guys, so I'll give them a C plus. I'll put it on the positive straight.
I don't think the Broken Bell Network is on Matty B's Christmas card list this year. Jesus Christ, dude. So let me get this straight. I have to defend some random stat, but you aren't happy with when did I ever say I wasn't happy with the Lombardi Trophy? I am totally fine with them winning the Lombardi Trophy. I just have a reality based in reality of how they won it. Jalen Hurts is an okay quarterback. There's a lot of other quarterbacks that are worse than him, a lot of other situations that are worse off than ours. But the thing, good God, man. I don't know if I have the strength for this.
You really did it now, Matt. You did it now, buddy.
Man, I don't know. Do I actually have a troll now? There's somebody trolling me, for God's sakes. Matty friggin' B doesn't get trolls. I troll. I don't get trolls. But all right, moving on. The defense actually scored in the Super Bowl, and another time game him the ball at the 15. Barbara's my she's my faithful companion on this. I appreciate the support, Barbara. Thank you very much. Kyle, I agree. I think the draft, honestly, I like the fact that they were going after, it was centered on the defense, and I like where they went with some of these players from some of these schools. Jihad Campbell, thankfully we're not going outside into the TCUs of the world with our first round draft pick anymore. We're sticking in the SEC, which is fine. I think Jihad Campbell is going to be a very good player at this league, but I think the process of his development is going to be a little bit slower due with the head injury. So yeah. I like that pick. I like some of the other picks, and I like some of the other positions, not necessarily the players, but I'll give it a C as well. Honestly, give it an incomplete. I can't. Really
we'll see. It's a draft, right?
Yeah, it's hard. We can sit here and I could grade the 2022 draft, and because we've had some years, I'm not going after anyone. You can have your opinion. I'm not shouting about it. I don't think you understand my opinion, though. You're on the defense defending a above average game managing quarterback like he's freaking Tom Brady, and that's what really annoys me. All right, Kyle, the final part. Wow, it's gonna be a great year, Kyle. Cannot wait. We won the Super Bowl last year. The final part of the show, we're gonna briefly look at at the schedule. Came out this week, and there it is in all its glory. First of all, Kyle, give me your assessment of it, man. It's a bitch.
Yeah, it's tough. It also kind of like just it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like there's no real rhythm to it, I think. I mean, a lot of like odd rest days, like they'll go like 8, then 10, then 5, and then like it's just wonky. The division games between the Giants sandwiched with a Minnesota game, and then at the end of the season, the same thing with Washington and sandwiched with a Buffalo game. It's just weird. No back-to-back home games at all. And then if you consider, I think they have 11 teams on their schedule that were in the playoffs last season. That's the first time anyone's ever been faced with that. So it's just tough. I guess the best thing it has going for them is a mid to late season bye, week 9.
Yeah,
but it's going to be tough. There's not too many breathers in there.
And if you had we're going to save our schedule breakdown in its entirety for our later, like our right before the season show that we'll do in September. But if you had to, how many wins you seeing out of the schedule right now here in May? Again, a lot of things are going to change, but
yeah,
because I know you have data and you change your picks as the weeks go by, whatever. But
yeah, I mean, look, it's really brutal schedule. Maybe there's going to be a team that is worse than we thought they were going to be. Maybe there's a team that's going to be better than we thought that we thought will be. We'll see. And then there's going to be injuries that happen in the middle of the season. So. Look, it's a tough one, but if you want to look at it as though the Eagles still probably have one of the best rosters in the league, I think 11 wins would be an appropriate guess. But I think if you're going any more than that, then you're just being really, really optimistic. So I think it looks like an 11-win schedule to me.
I see 6. No, I'm just kidding. I see 10. I see 10. I see a 10-7 schedule. Honestly, okay. And that some things don't have to break right, but I do see 10 wins. Yep. I don't see 15. Right. I know there's people who are talking 15 wins. I can't. There's no way they're going to get 15 now of the schedule.
No,
this is a big boy schedule. This is a big one. Some things about the schedule to note: the week 2 game in Kansas City. The Phillies will also be in Kansas City that weekend. So if you're looking for a Philadelphia themed little early fall vacation, head on to Kansas City that weekend and check out some Phillies, Royals, and Eagles Chiefs stuff. I do like, Kyle. Saturday football has returned this year. The 4:30 game. I don't know why that says 8 p.m. too, but
as it might get flexed, I think it might change.
Yeah, okay. But I'm digging that Saturday, December 20th. There's nothing like that type of football, that type of the year. NFC East still on the line, you think, at this game against the Commanders on December 20th?
What was the question?
Do you think the NFC East is still in question on December 20th when the Eagles play the Commanders?
Oh, probably. Yeah. I mean, look, and I know Dallas was really bad last season, but every time Dak Prescott's healthy, they tend to win around 11, 12 games a year. So you can't discount them, I don't think, either, as crazy as that might sound. It could be a tough division by the end of the season for sure between the Eagles, Commanders, and the Cowboys. So I would definitely bet that the division would still be in play by then.
So one last scenario question. With the Commanders, Buffalo, and Commanders as the last 3 games, with the Eagles, do you see a 3-0? Is there any way the Eagles can run the table there at 3-0 if they had to in order to win a division, or do they need to pretty much have the division locked down before we get to that little stretch?
You mean all 3 games matter?
Yeah. Do you see
look, I think they could. I think if they won 2 out of 3, I feel like then that would be a lot more reasonable than asking them to run the table there. We'll see. We'll see what Buffalo looks like then. We'll see what Washington looks like then. It does help that the last game against Washington, if they do need that one, is going to be at home as opposed to in Washington. So we'll see. I mean, that's a really tough end of the schedule there.
And what games in here would you consider the old-fashioned trap games?
Well, man, in terms of trap games, I mean, look, you could say the Giants just because they're a division opponent. But there's no team in here really besides the Raiders that I think I look at and say, like, they're definitely going to be bad for sure. I'm sure another team will end up being bad, but look, that's going to be tough. I think that Thursday night on a short week in New York could end up being probably one of the biggest trap games for the Eagles.
Yeah, I think. I'm looking at that the Denver game coming out of Tampa as a game that might be a trap too, because I think a lot of people were kind of overlooking that Tampa game, saying it's a loss and going right to Denver as a win. I think that might be a trap game.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, Bo Nix looked really good last season.
Yeah.
We'll see him under year 2 under Sean Payton. That could definitely be a tough one.
Yeah, no one's giving Denver the time of day. But
they were coming here, so it's going to help.
Yeah. LOL, so sensitive. Matty B isn't happy unless he hates a Philly team or player. What the hell were you talking about, man? Am I sensitive, Kyle, when it comes to that?
I think you guys are having a sensitive off, yeah.
I am not sensitive when it comes. And first of all, I'm not a hater, and that's where people. This is where homers get it all twisted. I'm not a hater. I'm a realist, and that's where people don't want to hear. They want to hear 17-2 or whatever. Or, Jalen Hurts, greatest quarterback ever come down the pipe. They want to hear all that, even though it's not real. Michael Kaepernick says 12-5. 12, yeah. I mean, some things will have to go right, but I think anywhere between 10 and 12 wins is pretty accurate, right?
Yeah, sure. 12's not unreasonable.
I think I'm thinking that Washington will fall back this year, maybe the Lions too.
Possible.
Let's talk about that real quick, because obviously we're getting into the season in May. It's the two biggest rivals I think the Eagles will be facing, based on what happened last year, would be Detroit and Washington. And if you're looking at one of those teams to potentially step back, which one do you think would be, or do you think both these teams are all systems go?
I mean, I think the more obvious look, if I had to pick one to take a step back, I think I would have to go with the Lions, just because they lost both coordinators. That's pretty tough to overcome, as we've seen for the Eagles. And they definitely did not have one good year. I mean, they were on the up for, I think, the last couple of seasons. But last year was definitely probably what their peak is going to be. So just in terms of winning 15 games, they're probably going to end up taking a little bit of a step back.
Yeah, and obviously they couldn't hold out. It's kind of lost the war of attrition there at the end, all those damn injuries. I would have loved to see the Eagles Lions in the championship game. I think that we missed. Well, I mean, it worked out, but
would have been tough, and we would have had to go there instead of.
It would have been in Detroit. Yeah, that would have been a fun game. That would have been a real fun game to watch.
Yeah.
Lions had one good year. No, they did not have one good year. They've actually had about 2 or 3 now. Broken clock is right twice a day. I mean, who is the sensitive one out of this, man? Lions are a good, legit football team. I'm sorry to say. Just remember, there's 1 year of tape on Jalen Daniels, and outside of him, who was their running game? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't all that impressed with Jaden Daniels. I thought he was decent. They got to get him some weapons, and I think they have. We'll see. But is it fair to say, though, that the Commanders are the favorites right now? Not to win the division, but the favorites to be the new rivalry. I mean, everyone's not looking at the Cowboys anymore because of the bad year they had. Yeah. Giants aren't quite ready yet, apparently. Are we looking at the dawn of a new Washington Eagles rivalry phase?
I mean, it's possible. I mean, I definitely was very impressed with Jaden Daniels last year, bringing his team to the NFC Championship game. And you can say what you want about him, but they're the Washington Commanders. They would not have been in the NFC Championship game if they didn't have Jaden Daniels playing the way that he was last season. So, I mean, look, I know he kicked their ass, but he does look like a guy that could be around for a little while. So, I don't know though. I it's probably going to be still between them and the Cowboys for a little while.
Yeah. But he did take you to the promised land twice. Well, he took me to the promised land once. We lost once too. So that's not quite going to the promised land. That's like banging your staff on the rock and not getting the water, and then being like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to bang my staff again. So we got to the promised land once, if you want to be correct about it. All right, Kyle. Listen, we're about 3 months away from the start of the real football. September 4th, home opener, Dallas. Last question of the night. You a little let down by that? I mean, were you looking for a different opponent to start the season? And how do you feel about opening it up at home against the Cowboys?
Yeah, I mean, I know people were saying that it's going to be cool to raise the banner in front of the Cowboys. Yeah, fine, like whatever. But like, I'm sort of, my attention is going to be turned to this next season by that point. And I mean, look, I know they're at least going into the game right now, they're 7-point favorites. So they're expecting, I think, the Cowboys to not be very good. And they're trying to get them when Dak Prescott's healthy and everybody's healthy for both teams to start the season. Just the one thing I'll say about it is I almost would have rather have played like a definite good team, just a team that like I could feasibly see the Eagles losing to anyway at some point in the season. I'd rather not lose to the Cowboys on some fluky week 1 stuff. You know, just so, you know, I mean, look, and you never know. So I don't know. don't like the game for a lot of reasons.
I mean, we've argued this back and forth. We come from two different generations of fan bases, and there's no harm in that. I don't think the Eagle Cowboy rivalry is anything like it was when I was growing up, and that's okay, I guess. It's kind of upsetting to me. And for the Eagle Cowboy rivalry to actually work, both teams need to be, or the Cowboys need to be good. Eagles can suck, but the Cowboys need to be good for the rivalry to actually work. And coming off of last season, that's not the point right now. I thought the NFL missed an opportunity. One, I didn't want to burn a divisional home game in September. I wanted to keep that for later in the year. I would have loved to see Eagles Lions. Obviously, that was a sexy game right there. That was the game everybody wanted to see last year. Might as well get it right off the bat early on in the season. So I thought the NFL missed the mark on that one, Kyle.
Yeah, there was a few games they could have went with. They could have went with that. They could have went with the Rams, the rematch of the championship game, or even the Commanders again if they really wanted to do a division game. So yeah, I'm kind of with you there.
Barbara says, I like this Eagles show, Maddie. I hope you do more of them. Barbara, we would do one every week during the season. This is the quintessential and Eagle pregame entertainment. This is our 6th year doing it. We've done it under different show names on different platforms, but we've been together for 6 years. It'll be our 6th year now. And starting at the end of right the week before, like leading up to week 1, we'll come on. We'll do our big NFL spectacular show where we'll talk our first place teams, our last place teams, our wild card teams, our championship game teams, our Super Bowl competitors, and our Super Bowl winners. And then every week we'll come in and talk about the game that was and the game that will be. It's going to bounce around the dial. I ain't going to lie to you. There's going to be times where it's on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, times it's on 7 o'clock at night. We'll keep you abreast as much as we can. But me and Kyle have been doing this for a lot of years now, and we have a lot of fun doing it. So I hope everyone's tuned in for a great ride in 2025. Eagles and Cowboys have rarely been a great at the same time, really. Yeah, it's been a while, Kyle, that the Eagles and Cowboys can say they've been, that both teams have been really kind of great together.
Yeah, they're taking turns sort of winning the division, I think, over the last 10 years or so, probably. But yeah, they're never really both great at the same time. You don't really ever see them on a collision course in the postseason either. So.
All right, Kyle, before I let you go, can you please tell the folks where they can find you on a daily basis?
Yep. So every day on the midday show, WIP 10 to 2, 94.1. And then on Twitter at Kyle _ Quinn.
And starting on September 3rd, I guess, is probably when we'll do the next show. It'll be here on the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn once a week as we will break down all the upcoming Eagle action. And we will also look back at the game that was. So make sure you guys are tuned in. Kyle, my man, it's great to talk to you. I'm glad speaking to you means we're one step closer to back to where we need to be for every week. So I'll see you in September, Kyle.
That's right, buddy. Thanks again, Matt. Say good, buddy.
All right, take care, man. Kyle Quinn, everybody, my main man, back for another season of the Birds Blast. I cannot wait to get this thing kicked back off again. Look back on some of the archival footage on EOP. We were there last year, and we were here, I think. I think we did it last year as well. So we'll have some fun with it. But thank you, everybody. Make sure everyone here on the This Rap Sports Network remembers that tonight we're not done. The Fightins Final will be here. I will not be on the Fightins Final tonight. There was a last-minute scheduling change. Pat Bernard will be taking the final tonight. I'll take it on Wednesday for him. So this is it for me tonight. We'll not do a final word, and I'll be back tomorrow night for the final word. So make sure you are here on the network for the Phillies Rockies late tonight, like around 11:30. Man, Phillies out west. And then on Thursday or Friday nights, 10:30, the wraparound with Pat Bernard. And again, the aforementioned final word with Matty B. And the Tacking Third with your boy Pat and Steve. And then the, the PM the AM show every Sunday morning. And, of course, the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn. All the great, fine programming we have here on the It's Rap Sports Network. Nick Abel is one. I just... yeah, it's a shame, man. I wish they would have put him on the plane. What's one more start going to really hurt the situation? Get his ass back out there on the 4th day. Clown show needs clown makeup next time. Okay, man. Let's go, brother. Everyone's kind of entitled to their own opinion. Final word is my favorite. Yeah, it's my favorite too. Phillies recalled Max Lazar. Yeah, why can't we keep McCabe? We'll see him again. I hope. Again, we'll talk tomorrow night more about the whole situation with Jose Alvarado. We'll discuss some more of Nick Abel and all the great other things that we're doing here on the final word. Until we talk then, at that point, you guys have a great rest of your night. Don't forget, be back here tonight around 11:30 for the Fightins Final with Pat Bernard. He's got you tonight, and I will be back tomorrow with the final word. So until we talk again, everybody, have a great night and have a great rest of your day. I will see you tomorrow, and yeah, take care.